Picture this: a young king, at the height of his power, suddenly struck down in his prime. The world holds its breath as the greatest conqueror of the ancient world lies on his deathbed, his empire hanging in the balance. Was it poison, a sinister plot, or simply the cruel hand of fate? The year is 323 BCE, and Alexander the Great, the man who had conquered most of the known world by the age of 32, is about to meet his end in the exotic city of Babylon. But his death is no quick affair. For 12 agonizing days, the mighty ruler of the largest empire in history battles against an unseen enemy, his body racked with pain and fever. It all began with a night of celebration. Alexander, ever the life of the party, had been drinking and feasting with his companions. The next morning, however, the invincible conqueror was brought to his knees by excruciating back pain and a raging fever. As the days passed, his condition worsened. Abdominal pains gripped him, and paralysis began to set in. Yet even as his body failed him, Alexander's mind remained sharp until the very end. But the mystery doesn't end with his death. In a twist that would baffle even modern medical experts, Alexander's body refused to decay for 6 days after his passing, despite the sweltering Babylonian summer. Embalmers, we're told, were too afraid to touch the corpse. It's as if death itself couldn't quite believe it had claimed the great Alexander. Now let's dive into the swirling vortex of theories surrounding this enigmatic death. Was it poison, a freak accident, or perhaps a natural cause that struck at the most inopportune moment? With no body to examine and only ancient accounts to rely on, historians and scholars have been left to piece together this 2,300-year-old puzzle. One of the most intriguing theories points to a deadly plant-based poison called white hellebore. This insidious toxin, packed with alkaloids that wreak havoc on the human body, causes symptoms eerily similar to what Alexander experienced: abdominal pain, a slowing heart rate, and eventually paralysis. The slow-acting nature of this poison fits perfectly with Alexander's prolonged suffering, explaining his gradual neurological decline over those fateful 12 days. But wait, there's another contender in this poisonous plot: the ominously named River Styx poison. Found in limestone deposits near the legendary River Styx, this toxic brew might have contained not one, but 2 deadly components. The first, caliciamycin, is a cellular assassin, destroying DNA and causing widespread organ failure. Like white hellebore, it kills slowly, mirroring the drawn-out agony of Alexander's final days. Yet, before we get carried away with tales of assassination and intrigue, we must consider the possibility that nature itself brought down the mighty conqueror. Several natural causes could explain Alexander's symptoms just as well as any poison plot. Typhoid fever, a bacterial infection that causes high fever and severe gastrointestinal distress, was rampant in Babylon at the time. The city's tropical climate and questionable water supply made it a breeding ground for such diseases. Another possibility is West Nile virus, which can cause fever, paralysis, and neurological decline, all symptoms that Alexander displayed. Perhaps the most fascinating natural theory is Guillain-Barré syndrome, or GBS. This rare condition, triggered by an autoimmune response to illness, causes a person's immune system to attack their own nerves. The result? A slow, creeping paralysis that leaves the victim fully conscious but unable to move or speak. Sound familiar? It's a near-perfect match for Alexander's condition in those final days. But here's the rub. We'll likely never know for certain what killed Alexander the Great. His remains, once mummified and entombed with great ceremony, have long since vanished into the mists of history. The tomb itself disappeared during the Roman era, taking with it any chance of modern forensic analysis. To complicate matters further, the historical sources we do have are often contradictory or incomplete, Some claim Alexander drank heavily and collapsed suddenly, while others describe a slow, agonizing decline. These accounts, written years after the events they describe, are more like whispers in a game of telephone than reliable medical records. So we're left with a tantalizing mystery. Was Alexander's death a natural tragedy, striking down a young man in his prime? Or was it a carefully orchestrated assassination, the final act in a political drama that had been unfolding for years? The list of potential suspects is long. Alexander's generals, hungry for their own slice of the empire, might have seen an opportunity to seize power. Or perhaps it was a vengeful subject from one of the many lands Alexander had conquered, finally exacting their revenge on the man who had subjugated their people. In the end, the death of Alexander the Great remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries. It's a tale that has everything: power, intrigue, tragedy, and the lingering question of what might have been. Had Alexander lived, how much further might his conquests have stretched? How different might our world be today? As we ponder these questions, we're reminded of the fragility of even the mightiest empires and the most invincible heroes. Alexander, the man who had conquered the known world by his early 30s, was ultimately conquered by something as small as a bacterium or as inexplicable as his own body turning against him. His legacy, however, lives on. The empire he built may have crumbled, but the impact of his conquests shaped the course of history for centuries to come. And the mystery of his death? Well, that continues to captivate us, a reminder that even in death, Alexander the Great still has the power to conquer our imaginations.